What is up, everybody, and welcome back to Off the Shelves. I know it has been a while. It's been about 2 months since my last episode of Off the Shelves, and I figured I might as well go ahead and get it out now. I'm not going to be buying anything until the beginning of March anyway, and so we have a good amount of movies here, probably like 25 titles. I've got a section of Wes Craven movies that I've bought for my review series. I have a section of rebuys, of double dips, and then a whole bunch of new releases. So if you enjoy this series, please hit the subscribe button. I try to do this once a month. It's lately been bi-monthly just because the slower Blu-ray releases, especially with 2020 and 2021, kind of being a little slower with movie releases, but we're slowly getting back on track. So if you enjoy it, stick around and watch some more. Now, starting off here, and of course, goes without saying, I'm going to give my quick little reviews of these, and I'll tell you whether you should go out and buy it, stream it, or skip it altogether. The Last House on the Left, the original shocking classic. I have reviews of every single one of the, well, all but 2 of these Wes Craven reviews done so far, so I will put a link to the actual full review if you want to check them out. I'm currently doing a Wes Craven review series. This was a first time watch for me. I had seen the remake before. I've known enough about this movie to know that it's probably not my cup of tea, but I did want to check it out finally. And I was pretty much right. You know, it's a movie I understand why it was shocking back in the day, why it's iconic to a certain degree, but it's a movie that I certainly can't say that I enjoy, and I probably will never watch again. So, is it worth watching if you're a horror fan? Sure, if you're into that kind of subject matter, but for me, definitely a one and done. So I would say stream it at most. All right. I like this one much more, and that was The Hills Have Eyes. Still kind of going along the lines of The Last House on the Left, going for that shock value. There's some sexual assault and some exploitation stuff in there, but much more of a story and much more iconic in my mind. This is something that I could see myself actually rewatching at some point, so I enjoyed the original. I think that I prefer the remake, but I do enjoy what the original was. I can certainly kind of put myself back into the 70s and see why this was so shocking for the time, but this one's pretty good. So if you're deciding between the two, I would definitely say to go with this one. The Last House on the Left remake. I have seen this movie a couple of times before. I watched this one when it came out. I saw it long before the original. And much like the original, it's a movie that I probably will never rewatch, will never watch again. But it's one that I can enjoy a lot more than the original because I think the third act is much better. I think that the revenge is much better. The acting is certainly better. The quality of film is certainly better. Really, the only difference here is I would say the first one feels like it has a little bit more of a purpose, where this one just feels like it's kind of cashing in on the name. But as a movie experience, this one was a little bit better for me. So again, I'll tell you to go stream it. Deadly Blessing. I had never heard of this movie before, and I kind of figured out why when I watched it. It's okay. It's definitely, it's got some unique ideas in there. It feels like Wes Craven getting out some of his early ideas for like Nightmare on Elm Street and some other movies that he did, but it doesn't really come together in the best way. It's a movie about a woman that her husband just died. They live very close to this little religious group that's kind of like the Amish, and some supernatural type things start happening. And so there was some creepy moments in it. It certainly started off much better than the rest of the film. It kind of got really slowed down after the first 15 minutes or so, but it was worth checking out. If you're a fan of Wes Craven, I would say to stream it, but if you're not really a diehard Wes Craven fan, and that's the only reason you would check this out, then you could skip it altogether. It was just okay. Oh man, I reviewed this one yesterday, and I was so pleasantly surprised with Deadly Friend, another movie I have never heard of before. This is a movie that is known for being absolutely terrible. A lot of people would probably say this is Wes Craven's worst film, or certainly in the conversation. And I can't exactly argue that. This is an absolute train wreck of a movie. But my God, it was so bad that it was glorious. I loved watching this. This was such a fun, ridiculous watch for me. Essentially, you have this computer genius who, the girl that he has a crush on next door dies tragically, and so he sticks the AI computer chip of his robot that he built into this girl to kind of reanimate her. And it was originally intended to be this sci-fi love story, kind of a bit of a adventure out of the horror genre for Wes Craven. And the studio and other things mandated that he turn this into a horror movie. So out of nowhere, this turns into a ridiculous teenage slasher movie. and it's just hilarious. Everybody has seen that basketball kill where the Mama Fratelli from the Goonies gets her head exploded by the basketball. That's this movie. I've always seen that kill, but I never knew what movie it was from, and now I'm glad that I own it. So I can't live with myself without saying that this is at least a stream it, but like I need to rewatch it again. I just had such a fun time with it. This might end up going up to go out and buy it for me. It was so horrible, but I loved it. All right, moving on to the two that I have not covered yet, and I have not watched recently enough, so I'm not really going to give much info on it. I will tell you that The People Under the Stairs is a movie that I have never liked. I've watched it a couple of times, have never really gotten it, but I'm looking forward very much to checking it out again, and maybe changing my mind on it, maybe watching it with a different lens, or if nothing else, being able to put on video all the reasons why this fan favorite does not work for me. And then we have The Serpent and the Rainbow. I've seen this once before, but I honestly don't remember much of anything about it, so this is another one that I'm really looking forward to checking out. Quick little TV. I bought this for my wife. She's a big That 70s Show fan. This was on sale, so it's all 8 seasons. It was like $30 or something like that, so I bought this for her. I've watched a few episodes. It's a fun little show. I'm not really a big sitcom guy, though. Now we have our double dips. I have not watched this yet, so I can't tell you whether or not the naughty cut is that much better, but Krampus. I love Trick or Treat. This is the same director. I did not like Krampus. I was really disappointed with Krampus, but this is supposed to be the original, like, R-rated cut, so I'm very curious on if this nastier cut will work a little bit better for me, but I have not watched it yet. If you have seen it, let me know down below what you think. The Punisher, Best Buy Steelbook. I have always really enjoyed the Thomas Jane Punisher movie. I know it has its faults, and there's a reason why it didn't necessarily turn into a franchise for them, but I have always really enjoyed it, so I wanted to pick up the 4K, and I look forward to checking this out again sometime soon. Absolute classic, Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Another movie that I have not seen in years, but I always remember Christopher Lloyd and, you know, that's Depp! Like all these iconic moments from this movie. So I've always loved it as a kid. I always loved it as a young adult, and I'm sure I'm going to love it as a medium adult at this point? Some would argue not. But anyway, Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Absolutely go out and buy it. Now we're on to our new releases. Antlers, one of the horror movies of 2021 that I missed out on. I have not watched it yet, but I've heard a lot of really good things about it. Apparently it's a pretty good little creature feature. Cop Shop. This ended up being one of my most anticipated movies of the back half of the year, and I did not get a chance to see it in theaters. It was just one of those weeks. So I finally checked this out over the holiday, and it was pretty good. Solid 3-star movie, and which is kind of what I expected. I didn't expect this to blow me out of the water. I think that it could have been a little bit better. There was some aspects to it that I felt could have been a little bit stronger character-wise, but it was still a good time. If you know Gerard Butler and Frank Grillo, and it's directed by what's the guy's name? I'm blanking. Joe Carnahan. If you know Joe Carnahan, you kind of know what movie to expect here, but it was a fun time. I will tell you, though, that Mr. Peanut Butter on My Penis from Halloween 2018, by far the best part of this movie. And he is so fucking funny, it made me angrier at Halloween 2018 for giving him such shitty dialogue, because this guy was gold in Cop Shop. Probably the biggest surprise of last year. It's certainly my number 2, if not number 1, and that is Dune. I had no interest in this movie. Everybody was blowing this thing left and right. It's gonna change our lives. And I was like, whatever, it's gonna be another fucking Villeneuve movie. It's gonna look gorgeous, and I'm gonna walk out going, eh. So I walked into this not expecting much, and I walked out going, please God, announce a part 2 now. This was an awesome sci-fi epic. I still need to see part 2 before I can kind of stamp my seal of approval 100%, because they could fuck it up. You know, I don't think they will, but they could fuck it up, and this is all set up for the most part for the finale of part 2. But it's a very, very gorgeous movie. It's a very interesting movie. The casting is just amazing all the way around. If you were somebody that was on the fence about this like I was, of course, I think it's still on HBO Max, but if not, just give it a shot. Give it a shot and check it out. This is absolutely a go out and buy it for me. One of the more enjoyable movies of last year, and that is Ghostbusters Afterlife. And unfortunately, we just had Ivan Reitman pass away too, so I'm glad he got to see his son kind of bring Ghostbusters back in a certain way right before he passed away. That's a little bit of a silver lining to that story, I guess. But Ghostbusters Afterlife is Jason Reitman, the son of Ivan Reitman, the guy that made the original 2 movies, coming in and rebooting and rejuvenating this franchise. And this was just such a joy. I wish it could have been a little bit more in the vein of the first film with a little bit more of that adult SNL style humor. This is very much a family film, but over the decades, Ghostbusters has kind of become more of a family property than it is an adult property anyway, so I understand why. But aside from that little nitpick, this is just a really fun, enjoyable movie. There's a lot of nostalgia here, a lot of fan service. I think that the story is done very well. This isn't a movie that just comes out and just says, okay, here's all the things that you want, now stop crying about it. This is a movie that genuinely has a good story on how to continue the story of the first 2 movies and bring it back for a new generation. So nothing but praise for this one. Definitely check it out and go out and buy it. Oh Lord, here we are. Here we are. Halloween Kills. Of course I bought it. I bought Halloween 2018 too. I got the Best Buy little steelbook here. This is a movie that I think I gave it 3 out of 5. Like it's fine. It's fine. It's a decent enough Halloween movie. There's a lot of great kills in it, a lot of great carnage candy. Michael is great, just like he was in Halloween 2018. It's shot really well. The score is great. All the things that pretty much they did well in Halloween 2018, they did well here. But yet again, the script really let this movie down for me. And this one was even more of a detriment than Halloween 2018. Just a lot of story issues, a lot of really bad writing, a lot of really bad characters. So it's a movie that, like I said, it's fine. I'll be able to watch it just fine in the future and be like, okay, well, that was Halloween Kills. It's just another one of those things where I don't really understand the hype for it. I don't understand the overwhelming praise for it. Now, this one was much more in the middle than Halloween 2018 was. I had a lot more people understanding where I was coming from this time, but the Halloween fandom still loved this movie, and that's great. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. I hope that Halloween Ends is great for all of us, honestly. I hope it's a movie that brings us all back together. But Halloween Kills was a movie that, yet again, was a little bit of a disappointment for me, so I would say to stream it. Now we have The Night House. This was a gift from my buddy Blake Garner. He was talking this movie up for a couple of weeks, or a couple of months, excuse me, saying how great it was, really wanted me to check it out. So he just said, fuck it, you don't have a choice. I'm sending it to you. Now you have to watch it. So me and my wife watched it, and it was a genuinely creepy movie. One of the more effective horror movies this past year for sure. I didn't necessarily love how it wrapped up in the final minutes. Not that it derailed anything, it just, I don't know. I don't know what I was expecting, but it wasn't quite a movie that stuck the landing 100% for me. But Rebecca Hall was great. The story was really interesting. I didn't quite know where things were going, so I would definitely recommend this. I would say go out and buy this one if you're a horror fan. Definitely along the side of more classic horror. Oh, my favorite movie of last year, which I did not expect. I did not expect this to be my favorite movie. I expected to like it, but yeah. No Time to Die. This movie was fucking awesome. I am a casual at best Bond fan. I have not seen the vast majority of the Bond movies before Pierce Brosnan. I tried to watch them. I planned on doing a big fat ass ranking after this came out and ranking all 25, 26 Bond movies, but I just could not get through them. I got all the way to Goldfinger decently enough. As soon as I got to Thunderball, I was like, I'm tapping out, man. I can't do it anymore. I got like 10 Roger Moore films after this. There's no way I'm gonna make it through it. So I love the Daniel Craig era, although I will say, I need to rewatch them, but I will say that it seems like every other movie is good, and this one certainly fits the bill with that one. This is one of the best of the Bond films, one of the best of Daniel Craig's, and it just sends off his iteration of James Bond in a fantastic way. So I absolutely love this. Definitely go out and buy it. Now we're on to Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City. Now this is a movie that is all over the place. There's people that love it, there's people that hate it, there's people in the middle. And I'm somebody that I definitely acknowledge there is a lot of problems with this movie. The fact they tried to do 2 stories in one was a big mistake. The way that they did the character of Leon was an absolute insult to that character and the fans. And there was some writing issues here and there. I have a full review where I go into everything, but there was certainly some problems with this movie. But as a Resident Evil fanatic, I feel like they got a lot more right than they got wrong. And for the first time, this felt like a video game movie that was actually made for the fans. Typically, it feels like the fans are disregarded completely, and we're just going to make a movie to have mass appeal to people that probably have never picked up a game console, and we're just going to throw it out there. And sounds like that's what we're going to get this weekend with Uncharted as well. So that sucks. But Resident Evil was a movie that will certainly leave you behind if you are not a fan of the games. There's a lot of things that will go over your head, but if you're a fan of the games, Easter eggs and fan service just galore. The way that they have perfectly recreated some of the zones and the maps of the original 2 games, I really enjoyed this. It's a flawed experience, but I really enjoyed it. It was one of the movies that I will appreciate the most from last year, so I will say to go out and buy it, only if you're a hardcore Resident Evil fan. Otherwise, tread caution, maybe stream it. 2 more movies, one of which is Venom, Let There Be Carnage. This was a disappointment for me. I really enjoyed the first Venom. Solid 3.5 star movie. I thought it was fine. I had a good time with it though. Everybody was shitting on it and I was like, it was fine. It was a good time. When it came to this one, everybody was saying how much better this movie was than the original. And I could not disagree more. I thought that this was actually a step down. I thought that the villain of Carnage was very weak, was very generic. I thought that Woody Harrelson's performance was all over the place. I thought that the movie was just so trimmed of any downtime that it felt like it was just rushing through everything. And not like a quick, awesome, like action-packed pace, just like fast-forwarding through all the plot. And it just, by the end of it, it was an okay time. I had a decent enough time with it. I can throw this on and have some dumb fun, but for the villain of Carnage finally fighting Venom on screen, man, what a disappointment. I would say to stream that one. Another one of the biggest surprises of last year, Wrath of Man. I have never been a big Guy Ritchie fan, and the last 2 or 3 movies that he has done has really turned me around and made me really start to watch this guy. Now, Wrath of Man is probably the least Guy Ritchie movie you will ever see. There's certainly some of his trademarks, but it's not his typical style. And so this tells the story of Jason Statham joining this armored car company, and turns out he's a bad motherfucker. And this movie slowly unfolds why he's this trained killer, or seems to be this trained killer, and why, of all things, he's working for this armored car company. And it's just a really cool story. It's got a great cast all the way around. You got Josh Hartnett back in this. And the way that it tells a story kind of out of order, which is somewhat of a Guy Ritchie trademark, is really cool because there's certain things about the story that you don't expect, and the more that unfolds, the more interesting the movie gets. So I highly recommend this one. One of my favorites of last year. I would say to go out and buy it. All right, guys, that is it for this episode of Off the Shelves. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I will try to do another one in a month, but if I only have 3 titles to talk about, we're going to be delayed a bit. So nonetheless, I will see you once again once I have a stack of movies. So thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you enjoyed Off the Shelves. If you like movie reviews and rankings and all of that, that's what fills out the vast majority of the days on this channel. So please hit the subscribe button and join us for all of that fun. Like I said, we're right in the middle of a Wes Craven review series now. So if you enjoyed the Wes Craven movies I talked about, stick around so you see all the reviews that I have coming, as well as a ranking of all of his studio directed films. Please like and share this video. Thank you again for watching, and remember, opinions are like assholes, but that doesn't mean that you have to be.